And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Happy Wednesday to everybody listening, however you may be listening. To our podcasting friends in the future, hello. Ben, how's it going?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Why, can I ask you this real quick? And then it's not like it's a slow news day or anything. But why is, when you're just getting on a plane and traveling across the country, in the case of us yesterday, we went from Dulles to Atlanta to Salt Lake, got back at a reasonable hour. Had to get up pretty early, I guess. But why is it that travel is exhausting when you're not really doing anything? Is it an emotional thing?
It's got to be an emotional thing.
And in this case, I had like my 8-year-old was with me, and it was just the two of us, and that kind of adds to it. I mean, she's awesome, but you still have to keep track of somebody in a busy airport all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got home exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, exhausted.
And there's the jet lag aspect of it, but I do think there is just a mental derailment aspect more so than just the physical wear and tear, because it's not that exhausting physically. You're right.
So I mean, hopefully people can identify with that. Maybe I'm unusual or something, but exhausted after basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
I watched like 3 movies.
Yeah, right. Took it out of me.
It's rough. Rewatched Capote.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it when I first saw it. It was good again the second time.
Yeah.
You notice things when you watch movies like that a second time.
Sure.
But yeah, you were kind
Like
enough.
that?
You were kind enough to hold down the fort while I was gone, and I handed you just a desert of information to navigate by yourself.
It was a bizarre 48 hours.
Absolutely nothing going on.
It was a bizarre 48 hours. I was already ready to come back Monday and recap a couple of games that were interesting. I think the outcomes were what we expected, but maybe how they got there was a little bit surprising. But, of course, that was just radically overshadowed by Monday, where it really felt like throughout our show, Kalani Sitake was headed to Penn State, and it felt like it was only gaining momentum. And then he had a bit of a weird press conference, I thought, which is how we wrapped up our show, which he was cryptic about what he was doing. And it seems like the deal was all but done. And then BYU circled the wagons and got it done and paid him and made a huge investment in the football program, and now he's back.
It was interesting following this from afar, this whole story. I wasn't able to be glued to it 24/7, so you'll forgive me, Ben, if I miss a detail or two, and please feel free to correct me. But I believe that he had all but taken the Penn State job. I believe that.
100%. That's, by all accounts, that is exactly the case. The meeting had been called for him to tell the team that he was not going to be their head coach anymore.
He was going.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that, and I 100% believe that BYU stepped in with a last-second package, so to speak, and an influence campaign that got him to change his mind to stay. The why, of course, is really interesting.
It's the most interesting aspect of it, and then what happens now?
So, I mean, I think there are several possible whys. Do you have one that, I mean, because I do not believe we have every bit as good a chance to win here as they do in Penn State, because that is not true.
It's not true. No, it's simply not true.
It just isn't. I mean, look at the selection committee. I mean, look what's going on. I mean, BYU is going to get left out with 2 losses. Penn State doesn't get left out with 2 losses. The Big Ten doesn't get left out with 2 losses.
Yeah, you don't get left out with 2 losses in the Big Ten, period.
So, I mean, that just conference alone, that's absolutely untrue. But that doesn't mean that his decision isn't a good one. And so that's why I think the why really comes in. And if the answer to the why is that he knows that he can run a successful program, win at a high level, jazz the fans, build on what Lavelle Edwards originally built, all those things matter, in my opinion. And we've seen a lot of hot coaches go to other programs where their formula doesn't necessarily work at that program, and we've seen it fail.
Yeah.
Now, we've also seen it succeed.
Urban Meyer, and we could talk about why that is. The one that surprised me, and maybe this is just because I'm fresh from that part of the country, was I would not have predicted Bronco would succeed
at UVA. It doesn't really matter why, but I was certainly wrong about that. He succeeded at UVA more than any coach they've had since the 80s. So his program was how he does things was remarkably transferable, and more so than I would have guessed. But we certainly, I think, have seen more of the hot coach fail, honestly. It'd be interesting to look at the percentages because what they do just isn't going to work at where they're going. Look at all the Texas coaches as of, like an idiot should be able to work at
USC coaches.
USC coach. I mean, the list goes on, and there's always that risk that Kalani's formula wouldn't work in college. What's it called? College Station?
State College.
State College. That's it. What's College State? No, that's Texas A&M.
Yeah.
State College. Thank you. I knew it was one of those. But what his recipe might not work there. And it's a high pressure, high expectation environment that if it does not work, you are out. And maybe financially you're compensated, but you're not a legend and your reputation is damaged and all of the things that come with that from a risk standpoint. So I would understand why he would stay at BYU because what he does works at BYU.
BYU is safer. BYU is a softer landing spot than Penn State is. He already has a good working machine at BYU that should continue on and is lined up to continue to be very competitive, including talent that they have expected to come in the next few years. And now on top of it, there is a renewed or upped investment into him, into his coaching staff, and then into the program itself in the form of what's rumored $10 to $15 million a year in NIL on top of the disbursement that you get from being a part of the NCAA.
The funny thing is Kalani has been on the border of not being retained as BYU's coach. That has happened in his career where it came down to an extension talk and they were either going to extend him or not. And then he goes out and beats USC and gets some goodwill and they extend him and give him more of an opportunity. James Franklin loses 3 games, including one to UCLA.
Yep.
And they boot him. Penn State was in the playoff last year, if I'm not wrong.
They opened the season as the number 2 team in the country. Now, that's part of why they fired him, because they lost 3 games in a row. But that is something that you can do at Penn State that I don't think you can do at BYU.
But my point is that BYU, Kalani got latitude, and that was really even before he really proved it, right? I mean, he got a lot of ability to prove himself at BYU. They gave him a lot of loyalty, way more than other programs give, obviously. I mean, we'll see what James Franklin does at Virginia Tech, but he did a really good job at Penn State.
Yeah,
he did. He did a really good job at Penn State.
Yeah.
And he has kind of a somewhat year. He doesn't even make it halfway through the season.
Right.
That's wild, right?
It is.
And I don't know if I'd be so quick to buy into that if I were Kalani either. So there's a lot of reasons to not take it. But if the reason to not take it is you feel like you can win at the same level at BYU than at Penn State, that is just not true.
Do you want to elaborate on that with you? Because I agree in some ways.
The Lane Train took LSU because you can win at a higher level at LSU than you can at Ole Miss.
Because of the name value helps.
Not name value, but also fan base. I mean, all those things, all the things that Kalani negotiated as part of his going, that all matters when it comes to winning at the highest levels. Right? I mean, we talk about it all the time. College football is an unequal playing field. And what do you do with the resources that you have? And your location is the entire chess match, right? And Ole Miss, we haven't seen it there. They've had 2 Mannings, and we haven't seen it there. LSU, you've 3 national titles with 3 different coaches. And I don't know if you've ever known an LSU fan personally, Ben, but they're crazy, and there's a zillion of them.
Yeah. I mean, the same goes for BYU.
Absolutely. I don't know. It'd be interesting to compare the fan bases. But I get it.
What I think is fascinating here,
but the system works against BYU. It's a total different argument. LSU has the system in its favor.
Of course.
It has the resources in its favor, and it has the location and the fan base and all those things. So you can say BYU has some of those things, but they don't have all of it. The system still hates BYU.
Yeah, it does, and we will talk about that when we talk about the college football rankings, I'd assume, at the top 3 stories. But what I am very curious about is BYU is trying to do something unique, which is, can you take the same resources you get at a Big Ten or an SEC school and put them in a Big 12 program and get the same results? You know, that's the experiment. You have changed the location of this experiment from State College, like you're talking about, or Baton Rouge, or all these areas where you can win at the highest level because you have the name brand, because you have the fan base, because you have the history. Can you move those same resources to Provo and expect similar results? Because that's what BYU's betting on. BYU did not just give Kalani a $9 to $9.5 million contract, which is the rumor, and a $30 million college football roster every year? That's got to be the expectation now. To not win at the highest level, this can't be second place in the Big 12 again.
Okay,
this can't be the expectation every year if that's the investment you're making, and that's the bet they're making. So I am curious to see what this ends up looking like and what has to be good enough now to justify this cost.
Okay, so the answer to your overall premise is no, and I'll tell you why. Because the margin for error is so much slimmer for a Big 12 school than it is for an SEC or a Big 10 school. And it really has been for a long time, but especially now. So is BYU never going to lose a football game again?
Of course not. No, they're going to lose games, yeah.
Then
next year.
The answer is no. They're not going to be allowed to compete at that level. How many undefeated national championships does Urban Meyer have?
1?
0.
0, yeah, didn't win the championship at Utah, obviously. So,
he lost to Virginia Tech when he won it at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Early in the year.
Yeah.
But he had a margin for error.
Right.
BYU, they're going to leave 2-loss if it happens that way, because obviously they're automatically in, which is such a chicken way to look at it, which is exactly what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They're saying, we're boosting our excuse to leave them out because we think they're going to lose to Texas Tech, and we're not going to include them.
Right.
And it's freaking awful. But would that happen at Penn State?
Of course not. No.
Never.
No.
So the margin for error is the problem here. That honestly is the big deal, because Kalani is going to lose games at BYU going forward. And there's a difference between losing a game and it totally costs you the season and losing 2 and you're still very much in it. It's college football is that slim that makes a huge difference. James Franklin was in the playoff last year. BYU, we should look at Penn State and BYU's record. What was Penn State, maybe a 2-loss team? BYU was a 2-loss team. Penn State was a no-brainer in, probably, with a good seed.
Of course.
BYU, they found an excuse to leave out. So it's not possible to do at BYU what they do at Penn State. No, it's not. Agreed. And it's not BYU's fault. It's no booster's fault. It's no resource fault.
No, it's the design of the system. They lost 2 games last year. They lost to Ohio State and they lost to Oregon, which are better losses last year than what BYU suffered. But regardless, what you're talking about, it's the same reason Texas is above Utah right now in the latest college football playoff rankings. And Texas, I think, has 3 losses, and Utah has 2. And Utah's 2 losses are to top 10 teams. Fewer losses, same quality of loss. No, they don't have a win over Texas A&M. But yeah, the margin of error is so much larger if you're in the Big Ten or the SEC, and that is by design. The system is designed to reward those teams and to punish you for existing. That's it.
They don't want to include you. That's the problem. They want to include Penn State. They don't want to include BYU. And that's been true at BYU since 1984, when they won the national championship and every other half in college football was like, well, this is never going to happen again.
Yeah. So I'm very curious. Again, I think this does go back to the experiment of same assets, different town, different part of the country with a different history. Will the outside forces respect you the same way?
It's kind of what Texas Tech did, right?
It's exactly what Texas Tech did, and Texas Tech has had to have 1 loss and beat BYU to be in the situation they were in, because if Texas Tech had lost to BYU, they would have flipped spots. They would be on the outside looking into the college football playoff right now.
Honestly, the whole Big 12 is in the same boat BYU is in. The system is working against them. How many Big 12 teams are going to get into the playoff max?
1. Well, 2 max.
2
max. If BYU wins, it's 2 max, yeah.
How many teams every year is the SEC going to get in max? 6?
Max 6, at least.
I mean, and
4.
they're going to make it bigger.
Right.
The margin for error is going to become 4 losses in the SEC.
Yeah.
It's not going to change for the Big 12.
No.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe all of a sudden they go from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. But honestly, in basketball, what we're talking about is 1,000% possible. Football, nope, not.
Agreed. The system... Again, we will talk about
so
this. So
Kalani State, the whole point is Kalani State for other reasons than you can win big. And I'm not trying to drag BYU. I think the reasons he stayed are interesting and relevant. And he could go down as Lavelle Jr. if he really wins at BYU. Penn State, you can win for – James Franklin was there for 8 years, 7 years? You could win for 7, 8 years, be in the playoff.
Yeah, but you have
You're
one bad
out
year.
on your ear.
Yep.
Because some linebacker misses a tackle or whatever the case is, you can go through and nitpick every game.
Again, to your point, they made the college football semifinal last year. They won 2 playoff games last year. They beat SMU in the opening round. They beat Boise State in the second round. They made it to the semifinal and lost to Notre Dame by 3 points, and he got 4 games the next year.
And you don't even get in if you're BYU with that record, by the way.
No, you don't. No.
So
if BYU were to have lost, let's say BYU were
won
to have
2
gone
games in the playoff last year and is out on his ear the next year.
So here's
That
the
is
example.
amazing.
You're exactly right. Penn State went 10-2 last year. Their best win was over, you will not be able to guess this, Illinois, number
Woo!
19 ranked team in the
Hot
country.
dog!
They lost to 2 teams, Ohio State and Oregon. What would they say if that was the case for BYU? Well, you lost to all the good teams on your schedule. You only beat the bad teams.
That's exactly what they're saying
That's
this
what they're
year.
saying now. So yes, at Penn State,
You're in.
you're in. You lost to Oregon? Let me send you some flowers. Yeah,
Well,
look at how
everybody
nice
loses
it is.
to Oregon.
Yeah,
No,
what
I mean,
what a wonderful loss.
come on.
Welcome to the club. But yes, if you're on the other side of it, if you're Utah, or if you're BYU and you lose to Texas Tech, or you're Utah and you lose to BYU and Texas Tech, they say, you had 2 good teams on your schedule and you lost to them both. Why would we even consider you at all?
Yeah, Utah's a 2-loss team. They're never getting in.
Yeah,
like
not a
they're
chance.
so far out. There's not a chance they're going to get in.
Yeah, and BYU's going to lose because they're is not going to get in if they don't win this weekend because they lost to the, quote, only good team on their schedule, is the view of the national voting media that puts them in the spot in the AP poll that the college football playoff tries to say they don't consider, but of course they do, and they bring it into their own rankings, and then by the end of the year they can justify it as well.
So, I mean, I like that Kalani's staying because I think he's a great coach and he's doing a great job at BYU. He's a good person.
It's good for our jobs.
And I would love to one day hear, the pinpoint why, what really were his priorities. But whatever they were, just because it wasn't winning at the ultimate highest level does not mean that it's a bad decision.
Agreed.
It doesn't. And so even if he prioritized his family, said my kids grow up here, that was a big thing for Whit, right? We always heard that. Like his kids are all going to go to the same schools.
Yeah.
That never happens in college coaching. Like there's something to all of that.
People should prioritize their happiness.
I agree.
Absolutely. You can have as much money as you want in the world and not be a happy person.
Stu
What's
Moore
the
will
value
love
in
Logan.
that? What's the value in having a bunch of money and being unhappy?
Jerry-
So if Kalani's happy and has a chance to win, good for him.
You don't think Jerry Sloan could have taken another job along the way? But Jerry was probably like, you know what? I get along with Larry Miller. I've got 2 stars. I'm racking up the wins.
The best example is Phil Johnson. Phil Johnson could have left for a
great
head
point.
coaching job and said, I'm happy with Jerry.
Love
got my
Bear
little
Lake.
spot at Bear Lake.
Yeah.
I make enough. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I've got enough. It's a big thing.
I don't have to deal with the press or any of the BS that I don't really like doing. I actually just get to coach hoop.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. Mark Few staying in Spokane. He knows he can win there.
Yep.
He knows the recipe to win there.
Got enough.
He's got enough. He's, the talk of the town all the time. If you've ever gone to Vegas during West Coast Conference tournament and you just see the pack of Zags fans that are down there, he's got it really good.
Yep, he does. And Kalani does too. Kalani has
Yeah.
obviously a fan base that loves him, a school that's invested in him, and he can win enough that everyone will be happy.
All right, stay tuned. We will get to top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com coming up next. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by our friends at J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. Ugh, I just looked at what we're starting with. All right, Christian, what are we starting with today?
Number 1, it's Wednesday. That means we have some hot, fresh college football playoff rankings to talk about.
Hot, fresh, something. BYU remains at number 11. They don't move after finishing the regular season 11-1. They have to win to get in. There is not enough shenanigans in front of them that could change that I think is going to allow BYU to leap the teams they would have to in front of them because some of those teams are simply not playing this weekend either. So unless BYU beats Texas Tech on Saturday morning, BYU will be on the outside of the college football playoff looking in.
But somehow Duke has a chance.
Yeah, Duke might get in. Virginia might get in, right?
There might be 2 G5 schools.
Yeah.
that
If
Yeah.
Duke beats UVA and doesn't get ranked ahead of the G5 schools, there will be 2 G5 schools. And there's no way. If UVA loses, they're not getting in.
No,
they're
of
at
course not.
17
No.
right now, and they're a 2-loss team.
no.
So no, like
With a loss to do?
what a joke of a conference final, honestly.
Yeah.
And yet they're going to get Miami could possibly squeak in. They would jump BYU, I would guess, if BYU takes another loss. The fact that Notre Dame is even ranked above BYU now is ludicrous. The other 2-loss teams, I guess you could make an argument. I mean, I think I could make an argument just as good as solid for BYU, but the other teams ahead of the Cougs are Oklahoma and Alabama.
But you have to
2-loss
understand,
teams.
and what everyone has to understand is the college football playoff is functioning exactly how it's supposed to. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. And I know people think it was about fairness. It wasn't. And it never has been.
Yeah.
And it wasn't last year, and they're not doing it again this year. And again, I've talked about this saying on the show before. The purpose of a system is what it does, meaning when something repeats itself over and over and over, believe what it's doing, and that's the design of it. If I say, Jake, I've got a great investment for you. You give me $25 a day, and I'm going to return 50% of your investment at the end of the month. And at the end of the month, there's never any money for you, and you still give me $25, and I get richer. The purpose of that system is for me to get rich and for you to lose your money. That's what the college football playoff is doing. It's for you to think it's fair so you can complain about your team getting in and your team doesn't get to go in. This was not designed to reward fairness. It was not designed to have equality or parity across college football. It was designed specifically to eliminate the Big 12 getting 25% of the shares of the college football playoff when they only had 4 teams and TCU makes it.
Yep.
They didn't want that. 25% going to a Big 12 school? No, so what we're going to do is we're going to expand it to 12 and say, wow, isn't that great? There's more opportunities. No, you get 1/12 of the pie now, as opposed to 25%. That's the design. This is functioning exactly how it's supposed to.
It is.
And now, are there victims? Yeah, the Big 12, the ACC, G5 schools. Yeah, all victims. But it was designed to reward the Big 10 and the SEC. Don't say you're getting screwed. You're not. It's functioning exactly how it's supposed to.
And specific brands within those conferences.
Absolutely.
Actually, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, it's true. Like, they're not going to bend over backwards for Vandy. They're not. They're not. It's specific brands within those conferences. And those conferences and the television networks that are pulling the strings for those conferences, Big Ten with Fox and the SEC with the Mouse, they have snatched the brands that matter from the other conferences. This is all a delicate dance to push out as many schools as possible and to divide the pie as much as possible amongst those specific brands.
Give me which brands you're talking about.
Oh, well, I'll give you an example of 2 of them.
There's 6 really obvious ones, but yeah.
I'll give you an example of 2 of them. The Big Ten wanted to sell, what was it? It was like 10% of its media rights to a California pension fund for whatever $1 billion. How many schools are in the Big Ten now?
18?
That sounds right.
Something like that?
There were 2 that said, we're not doing this. 2. Guess which 2 they were? Michigan and USC. Ask me if they're doing it.
Are they doing it?
No.
Yeah.
So there's 2 right there. Because the rest of these bozo institutions have been burning through money like drunken sailors and need a bailout from a pension fund in California. And USC and Michigan, why would they want to sell 10% of their media rights? They're doing fine. They're swimming in dough. They don't need that money. And so Indiana's like, we desperately need it.
Yeah.
And Michigan and USC go, well, we're not doing that. And USC's new to the league. How much? Even Washington and Oregon are taking a small cut. USC's not. Now, where is USC located?
Los Angeles.
Where is Fox Sports located?
Is it LA?
Yep. Sure is.
Yeah.
So you were surprised that USC and UCLA less so, get a lifeboat from Fox Sports? Well, right there in their backyard. How many USC people are on the Big Noon Kickoff now? 1 less because Reggie Bush is gone.
Yeah.
But Matt Leinart, I mean,
yeah,
they're one of them. Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get into the SEC, and right now it's Georgia, but ultimately it's Alabama, Florida. Florida State used to be that. I don't know if you can include them in that anymore, and partly because they haven't been willing to join the SEC because they've got this stubborn pride and now they're a shell of themselves. Miami is the same thing. Texas made the most savvy move. I mean, if Texas was going to stay Texas, they had to go to the SEC.
Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma is going to make the college football playoff. Texas has at least an outside shot. I don't think they made it last year at this point, but they made it last year. Yeah, they're going to get in most years.
But how many other Big 12 teams did the SEC take?
Looking down the list, I don't see anybody. Two
now,
teams total.
They had taken Mizzou and Texas A&M before that, and they really took Texas A&M to dip their toe in the Texas waters. They would always have rather had Texas, and they eventually got them. Mm-hmm. We saw that when Utah was going into the Pac-12 with the swirl of rumors that was going around. Which conference would Texas pick, the Pac-12 or the SEC? And they ended up building a really specific deal for themselves in the Big 12 to just kick the can down the road 10 years until inevitably making the decision.
But going back to your the pension fund that was going to be split off and the two top teams saying they didn't want to do it, or two of the most valuable teams saying they didn't want to do it, it's why the Pac-12 is dead. Because USC wanted to have more say in the Pac-12, or Oregon wanted to have more say, and they didn't give it to them. And they said, fine, we're going to go somewhere else. And they went somewhere else and killed the Pac-12.
Yeah. All they wanted, Ben, was they wanted the conference office in Southern California. They wanted USC to not get screwed by the refs, and they wanted USC to not play Washington State on Thursday after playing Saturday. And guess how many of those things that Larry Scott did?
None of them.
None.
Yeah.
Zero.
So,
and it was jealousy from the other presidents, by the way. It was always jealousy, and it ruined the conference.
Zoom out. Okay. Look at what's happened with the college football playoff once it's expanded to 12 teams. Look at how the Pac-12 died. Look at the teams that left the Big 12 to go to the SEC. It is all about the haves, the rich getting richer, and the rest just suffering off and going away. It's just they don't care. They don't care.
As soon as the Big Ten can carve off Purdue, they're going to do it. I mean, as soon as that relationship in those conferences and they can get rid of the lessers in their own league, they're going to do it.
Yeah. Right. It's happening. We're seeing it.
I saw a rumor about it this weekend. Now, it was from an entirely unreliable source, but they're going to go to 60 to 70 teams, and then they're going to cut it down from there.
Siphoning off the big teams from the other conferences, so the other conferences will die. It's just that simple.
Yep.
That's what they're doing.
So they don't have to share. Yep. And so they're not going to give more piece of the pie of the college football playoff than they absolutely can justify.
And you can expand it to 16. That doesn't mean that other teams are getting in. They're going to justify ways to get their schools in more.
Yep.
That's it.
Next.
Number 2, cue up the MC Hammer. Show us your best dance moves. Kalani Sitake is here to stay.
Yeah, he is here to stay. Good for him. I think if it's true that he prioritized some systemic things inside BYU, I think that's probably a good thing. I find the price tag interesting, $9 to $9.5 million, although I kind of don't believe that, or at least believe that that's coming. That entire sum is coming from the university.
Well, Joey McGuire's getting $7 million a year plus certain bonuses that allow him to make a lot more than that. Maybe that's how Kalani gets to $9 million.
Right.
There are certain bonuses to get there. College football playoff, whatever.
I guess what I'm saying is he probably has $9 million in the bank. Not all of that came from.
Well, we know. Yeah, certainly it's not coming from BYU. No.
Brigham Young University. I find it interesting that we're now seeing the price tag on BYU's coaches because that was never a thing before Kevin Young.
Nope.
Kevin Young was the first coaching contract that we ever learned about at BYU.
Well, things have changed. The winds have totally shifted. It's not the old BYU anymore. They don't want to be the old BYU anymore. They're happy to talk about how much they're paying players. They're happy to talk about how much their NIL fund is going to be. They're going to come. You're going to start hearing square numbers about this being a $25 to $30 million roster every year. I think you're going to start having a real understanding of how much.
Wait, Ben, stop right there. You told me that with the House settlement and the salary cap, that NIL stuff was not going to be relevant.
I don't think I said that, but some people believe that was going to be the case.
I was told. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
I was told that wasn't going to matter because they created the universities themselves are going to pay them, and that wasn't going to be a thing. You're telling me that's still a thing?
Yeah, the weird thing about all of that was, they didn't kill NIL. Now every team does have $20-ish million to spend however they want to
coming
spend.
Out of the athletic department,
but your third-party NIL people can still be third-party NIL people and do whatever they want.
That never changed.
All it did was you gave you sent out checks to everybody in the country. It's like, yeah, that's why inflation goes up. It's like all of a sudden everyone has money now. It just raises the prices of everything. And I'm not, send everybody a check, whatever you're going to do. I don't care. But I'm just saying, you gave everyone $20 million thinking that would
then we can
teams
get
less competitive? What are you talking about?
That's just $20 million More.
Yeah, it's just $20 million more to spend.
Coming from a different source.
And guess what? Now the quarterback who wants to make $6 million a year makes $9 million a
Right.
year. It's that simple. That's not hard.
And the Crumble guy's still involved.
By the way, what a brilliant marketing campaign he has been running for some time now. He's just on Pat McAfee, just like his photo. And now Crumble is everywhere this morning. That guy, he's on a heater.
All right.
Yeah, good for him. But no, it's good for BYU that Kalani's back. I'm a little surprised just because, and we talked about this yesterday, I don't believe Kalani's the only man for BYU. I don't believe that.
He might be the best man.
He might be, but if you had Jay Hill and the same resources, you think this is a bad team? You think they can't win?
No.
I think that's insane.
But I was also told that Gary Croton was an offensive genius coming from the Bears.
Well,
and that he was going to do.
Every coaching hires a gamble.
I know.
And you do have Kalani who works. So you know that Kalani works right now. But I am a little surprised this idea that Kalani could be the only person to succeed there. I actually don't like that concept.
No, because Kalani and Bronco were entirely different people, and they
both won.
They both had success at BYU. Yeah, 100%. But who's a particularly sleazy coach? If they hired Ed Ogeron, probably not going to work at BYU, I'm guessing, because you have to be able to operate within BYU's framework. And Bronco and Kalani both figured out a way to do that. It's entirely different, though, because I remember when Kalani first got to BYU the first year, they had Jamal Williams and Taysom still, and they had a good record. I have to go look at it.
Did they still have Taysom with Kalani? I don't remember.
That might have been Mangum the. I'd have to go back and look, but they had a good season because they had this really strong.
Mangum off the mission was still Bronco.
They had this. Well, maybe it was Mangum's sophomore year then. We should just go back and look it up. But the point was, it was a decent season. And because they had all this strong leadership, is the reason I remember Jamal Williams, is because they had all these upperclassmen Bronco guys who had, Bronco's thing was discipline. They were really good at it. As those guys left going into the next year, Kalani was always, you worked with Gunther. Gunther didn't even play for Kalani. Gunther loved Kalani because he was a guy that really bonded with the players because he was charismatic and chummy.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can't necessarily be that as a head coach. So the next year, they suffered a lot of lumps, and there were these stories coming out about the disaster the locker room was in physically and all this stuff. And I still remember the press conference where Kalani said, or it was BYU Media Day, and it was the year after they had just given Tanner Mangum the job. And he said, I will never do that again. We will have a quarterback controversy going into the year for the remainder of my career. My point is, he learned a lot of lessons in how to be a head coach specifically at BYU and do it his own way. But his way at the beginning was not successful.
But I think you bring up a good point with Bronco, and Lavelle was there, and I know that skips the Gary Croton era, but look at BYU basketball. Dave Rose was a hell of a coach, and Mark Pope was a hell of a coach, and now Kevin Young's a hell of a coach. It's why do we keep saying that BYU can only win with one person, or that this pool that I recognize is a little bit more shallow because they only want to have LDS head coaches does change the conversation a little bit, but clearly you can win at BYU. Why would there only be one guy for the job? I just think that's a flat out wrong answer.
Yeah, but Rick Pitino wouldn't win at BYU, even with the resources. Sure. Rick Pitino, or let me put it this way, wouldn't ultimately succeed. The coaching pool, it's not that it's dry, obviously, for the points that you just laid out, but the coaching pool is very shallow.
It is shallow.
Of coaches it's shallow of coaches that will succeed, in my opinion, at Utah.
But you want to know one of the reasons why it used to be more shallow? Because BYU underpaid their guys, and they don't do that anymore. Yeah, that was one of the big issues.
That, and they were way more strict on things like entrance into school, transfers, not to mention the honor code. So a lot has
changed,
has opened up, where that wasn't a thing for Bronco or Dave Rose.
Agreed.
So, all right. Do we have one more?
We do. Utah Mammoth on a slide right now. They made some big roster changes yesterday ahead of their road match today at Anaheim.
Sent down one young player in Simashev. He's going back to the AHL to play with the Roadrunners, and brought up Daniil But. While they have had serious flaws defensively, they also simply cannot score enough, and they've been terrible on the power play. And if you watch the preseason, Daniil But loves to shoot the puck, and they could probably use a guy with a little bit of that energy. Just somebody to step in and say, oh, it's a little wild. I guess if he's shooting, we should shoot too. I think that could be some help here. So we'll see.
It's interesting covering hockey in how different it is from basketball, in a sense that, it's not just a one-man show. Alex Ovechkin gets a lot of headlines because he puts up a lot of numbers, but It doesn't necessarily guarantee that the Caps are going to win the Stanley Cup. I know that seems like an obvious point, but you know what? If you have 28-year-old LeBron James, there's probably a good chance you're going to be in the finals because that's just how basketball works. And so following these, adjustments from a roster standpoint and utilizing the farm system is really interesting. And I wonder how they measure the impact that those movements make. Like if you bring up a G League, if Oscar Tshiebwe is all of a sudden on your bench, it's not going to make a difference if you're going to win or lose.
At all.
At all?
No.
But you call up a young gunner from the Roadrunners or whatever, what kind of impact does that have?
Yep.
What kind of shakeup is that for a sport that relies a little bit more on the fist rather than the 5 fingers?
And we'll see that tonight.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. It's a good one every week, Ben, but I particularly like this week. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You're going to win 2 tickets to go see Aerofest 2026, headlined by Styx and Chicago at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on August 30th. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Chicago had a lot of different genres. I wonder what their go-to,
In
what I
concert?
mean? Yeah,
They span the eras.
OG Chicago was way different than what Chicago was in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
kinda like-
find a way to survive.
Like when Jefferson Airplane gets together, do they play Revolution or do they play, what's that dumb song that Hans and Scotty always close their show with, or used to? Nothing's going to stop us now. Do they go into the Jefferson Starship era?
Yeah.
I'd imagine the fan bases of those two eras are quite different.
Yeah, different groups of people.
The hippie 60s people are probably booing the "We Built This City"
Yeah.
when they play "We Built This City," which I believe I read a publication. I don't know what it was, Rolling Stone or whatever, but that was named the worst song of all time.
Oh.
Would you buy into that?
No. That's the fun
There's a
song.
decent draft. We could do worst songs of all time.
I like that song.
You do? We built this city on rock and roll?
Yeah.
I do not.
Oh, that's a great song.
As a fan of Jefferson Airplane, I can't possibly jump onto that.
Okay.
No thanks. It's like the old school Blink people saying they couldn't get on board with what was their first big hit? You knew all the snooty Blink 182 fans because they all hated it. What's my age again?
Yeah.
That launched them into stardom.
Be happy for people making money.
Are you obligated to do that? I don't know.
I'm happy for young people to make it, figure it out, whatever they got to do. So I'm happy for Kalani getting paid as well.
Are you really happy for Steve Ballmer making money?
Right now, no. As a 70-year-old, I don't care that he, every afternoon when the stocks go up, he makes $40 million.
I don't look at Steve Ballmer and go, I'm happy for
Happy
that
for
guy.
him. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Not a thing. Most of Silicon Valley, do you really look over and go, I'm happy for you?
Proud of you.
Hey, respect.
Sure, yeah.
But
Maybe
happy?
That's a better word. Maybe that's a better word. Yeah.
Happy for you? No, not really. All right. Good times.
Looking at where BYU heads from now, what I talked about a little bit yesterday while you were gone, and I'm just curious about, do the expectations change now at BYU? Should they?
Uh-huh.
What's the expectation?
You got to be in the conversation for the Pac-12 title every year.
Big 12.
Or, sorry, Big 12.
Well, they are in the Big. That's the thing. They are, and they have been for the
right
last
now.
2 years.
Yeah, and Coach Sitake got paid like it. But now you're in a realm of where it's expected. Now, I think that Kalani will get more leeway than James Franklin did at Penn State because that was ridiculous. And that's not how BYU is traditionally operated. But can he go to the bottom of the league? Probably not.
No, of course not. No.
No, when Kalani first got hired, I had the scorching opinion that he could lose every game and still keep his job. Because he was that popular when he got hired.
Right.
I mean, you remember he was dancing at basketball games and stuff, and everybody was loving him. And the welcome home Kalani crowd. And obviously that changes. He couldn't do that anymore. He could, if he lost every game next year, he'd be out on his backside.
Sure.
But can he have a 1-6-6 year? probably could survive that.
Yeah, he can do what Kansas State did this year. Finish 6-6.
We haven't even talked about that. That is, well, let's get into it next on pushing coaches out the door, because that is kind of relevant.
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll get into it coming up next. Stay tuned. It's the Jake and Ben Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Big 12 title game showdown for Kalani Sitake and the Cougars as they square off against Texas Tech for a spot in the college football playoff. Exclusive Big 12 title game coverage on the Zone is presented by JCW's, the Burger Boys. Quality and a lot of it. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Hey, Utah's holiday magic starts here. Experience holiday lights at the ballpark at America First Square. Dazzling displays, music, and family fun now through January 3rd. Get tickets at the ballpark at afs.com. Ben, we're going to talk a little college football here, but of course it's Big 12 Championship week, and our coverage of the Big 12 Championship all week long is brought to you by our good friends at JCW's, the Burger Boys. Quality and a lot of it. So any interviews or to preview the game, it's all brought to you by JCW's. If you put it on that paper, I'm going to read it.
I almost cut you off because I almost did the same thing.
Going to read it. Ben, there was some breaking Big 12 coaching news this morning. Kansas State coach Chris Kleiman has decided to retire at the ripe young age of 58.
Well, his contract's coming up to an end, right?
Something like
I think he has a deal through 2032.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. So he's got plenty of money left on the table.
He's got a forever deal.
Yeah. And
coasted this job as long as he wanted.
Now, this year was a bit of a disappointment.
It was, yeah.
But he's been really good there, right? We can all agree that he's
5 bowl appearances, won a conference championship 3 years ago?
Yep. And remember when Bill Snyder retired the first time from Kansas State, their replacement was so bad, like a 90-year-old Bill Snyder had to come out of retirement again to stable the program, and then Kleiman took it and has done a really good job. But the heat that was surrounding him seemed crazy because when I first saw that press conference after the Ute game, where he was emotional. Mm-hmm. I mean, and talking about his players and does that look like the effort of a team that's quit and all this stuff? I thought to myself, good heavens, is the pressure cooker that high? I mean, I watched Kyle Whittingham have 2 4-8 seasons in a row. He never sounded like that.
No.
Like that?
And so it's like, oh, what's going on with this guy? And then I hear the news today that he's retiring. Please. Did that sound like a dude who was wanting to retire to you, Ben?
As opposed to Whit, whose final press conference or post-game presser did sound more like a guy who's ready to retire and was kind of, emotional about the seniors and maybe his last game at Rice-Eccles. You're right. Chris Kleiman had a different tone than a guy who was saying, well, I won't be back next year. This was it for me. I didn't get that sense from him either.
Not in the slightest. And then what news comes out hand in hand with the Kleiman news, Ben?
That they've already got their next head coach.
They've got their next head coach already. And what do you know? It's superstar quarterback for Kansas State, Colin Klein.
Colin Klein, yeah, who is now at Texas A&M.
And happens to be one of the hot coordinators out there in line for a next head coaching job. So it wouldn't take that big of a leap to think that they just gave old Kleiman the shove, said we're going to call this a retirement, have a nice day, and we're going to hire old Colin Klein.
Coach Kleiman, this is the athletic director. The donors told me you're out. So you want to retire? Because they've already got the next guy paid for. They've got your buyout paid for. This is really your only option if I want to keep my job.
Now, people will say, but he retired. Now, listen, the word retire does not always meet one definition.
Uh-huh.
Frank Beamer retired, but with some encouragement.
As of this morning, Chris Paul might be retired.
Yeah, right. I believe, and I've talked to people about this before, but it's not like I know everything. I believe when Lavelle retired,
yeah,
he might have been encouraged to make that decision. So don't always get married to the word retire. And there's a reason they do that.
It sounds nice. It does sound nice. It sounds better.
They wanted him to save face, and I'm sure they came up with a lovely retirement package so we would make that decision. But and maybe, Ben, this is just me coming off a trip and a funeral where I happen to be surrounded by literally hundreds of Virginia Tech fans. Be careful when you push the old man out the door.
Yeah.
Because they haven't replaced Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech yet, and they haven't even come close. And frankly, Franklin has a big job on his hands because that program isn't what it used to be. And they somehow, the university and their new AD had convinced themselves like, oh, this guy who's won here for years doesn't have it anymore. And then you cost yourself 10, 15 years of heartache.
Mediocrity. Yeah.
Mediocrity.
Yep.
BYU was really lucky to find Bronco. They were really lucky to find Bronco because that could have spun out of control quickly because you were in a hurry to get the NFL offensive genius in the door. And that brings up Utah a little bit, and I don't know Utah's opinion on Coach Whitt, and I would believe them, I suppose, when the decision will be all up to Coach Whitt. But there are some other factors that are involved in this whole thing. For one thing, BYU and Virginia Tech both did not hire the next in line when they pushed out the head coach. BYU did not hire Norm Chow. Norm Chow had left the year before, but he forever was, okay, when Lavelle hangs it up, this is Norm Chow. Virginia Tech did not give it to Bud Foster.
Yeah.
Florida did give it to Will Muschamp after Spurrier retired, who was the coach in waiting or the next guy or whatever, and that turned out to be a disaster. I'm trying to think. There have been examples where the contractual coach in waiting is not selected when the coach is moved out. I mean, my point is these situations are so delicate.
Yeah, little Belichick in North Carolina.
Yeah.
He's not going to get that job.
If Morgan Scalley is tired of being on ice and says the old man's never going to retire, I wouldn't blame him for one single second, especially this year.
Yeah, of course.
With the coaching carousel being unlike anything we've ever seen. So there would be some momentum to encourage Kyle Whittingham to retire. Again, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm just saying that if Utah says, oh, Morgan is a hot commodity, we cannot let him go, which could very well be true. I think he's a fine coach. And I think he probably has offers if he wants them. So how does that impact Coach Whitt's decision? Because I'm sure he wants to leave the program to his guy. Right?
Yeah, you would think so.
I'm honestly surprised we haven't heard a decision one way or the other from him.
A lot of theories that you want to get through today, which is National Letter of Intent Day. Again, the report that he has to have it decided by Friday. It's like until he says, hey, I need another week, and they say, okay, yeah, of course, you're Kyle Whittingham. You're going to the College Football Hall of Fame. You're the best coach we've ever had. We'll give you as much time as you
Okay,
need.
can I tell you why I don't like that logic? You really want your new recruits, the first thing to be you lying to them?
I'm with you.
Like, what would be the point of keeping him until signing day so he could go, yeah, I'm going to be here? I don't buy that.
I totally get it.
I don't buy that in the slightest. I would buy that Coach Whitt himself doesn't know and needs time to make up his mind. I would buy into that, but signing day, I don't buy that in the slightest. In fact, if anything, they're telling recruits what Coach Whitt's decision is going to be.
You would think so. You would hope they would not be pulling the wool over their players' eyes of not knowing what Whitt's going to do.
Yeah, you don't want him out there selling that he's going to be there, and then the first thing he does is go, just kidding.
Going back to Kansas State, because it ties into Kalani Sitake and it ties into Kyle Whittingham and it ties into what is a fair expectation now. Because what is interesting that's happening within the Big 12 is you have two schools that are saying we are not like you. Texas Tech and BYU are looking at the rest of the Big 12 and saying we are not in your same conversation anymore. We are going to have $20+ million rosters. We have coaches that make among the top 15 in the country. You know, in Kalani's case, it's going to be higher than that now at $9.5 million a year or whatever the deal is. It's a huge contract. You know, for comparison, Whitt makes, 6.5? Which is a huge number, but 9 is a lot bigger than 6 when you're talking about, millions as a head coach.
50% bigger.
50% larger. Yeah, it's a lot.
Nice.
So BYU and Texas Tech are trying to look at what the standings say today and look at what they think is available going forward and say, we don't think the rest of you can compete with us financially. And if you can't compete with us financially, the world is telling us that you can't compete with us on the field either. And so we're going to separate ourselves from you. And that doesn't mean they're leaving the Big 12, but it means they're leaving the rest of the Big 12 behind. And they're going to try and compete that way. And if they do, what does that mean for the rest of the teams? How does Kansas State continue to compete? How does Utah continue to compete? What can they realistically be expected to do if you can buy your way to the top of the conference, which Texas Tech is saying, yes, we can, and we are. And BYU is saying, yeah, we can, and we've done it too. I don't know. Should they be better than 6-6 at Kansas State? Probably, because the rest of the Big 12 is not that amazing.
Not every year. That's
but not every year.
Yeah.
Again, Utah was 5-7 last year and bounced back with a 10-2 season. If you would have told me next year with a senior quarterback coming back, retooling through the transfer portal, a little bit NIL money better spent, that they could have been back to 9 wins next season, 10 wins next season, and Chris Kleiman's still in his late 50s and very good, knows the program, they would have been fine. I would have totally believed you. I would have counted Kansas State out next year. And now you're starting over, you're hitting the reset button? I think it's bizarre.
I bet they'll have to fire Colin Klein. Let's see here. During his tenure at Kansas State, and we're going to throw out the 2020 year where he went 4-6 because, frankly, it just doesn't count.
It's just a bizarre season.
2019, Ben, 8-5. 2021, 8-5. 2022, 10-4 and a conference title. 2023, 9-4. 2024, 9-4. 2025, 6-6.
2022. Is that the year they beat TCU in the conference championship? TCU goes to the college football playoff anyways? Is that same season?
Uh-huh.
Is that what happened?
I think so.
I have to go back and look. But yeah, no, he's a great coach. He's one of the good coaches. He will get picked up again. If he is not retiring out of his own desire, somebody should hire him. He's a really good coach.
So
in fact, in all honesty, Penn State should look at him. And I'm not kidding about that.
So many bad, rash decisions are made in college football, and this is going to be another one. Although Kansas State probably isn't going to have the resources as those schools that you mentioned, so time for outside-the-box thinking maybe? I don't know if this does it.
That doesn't seem outside the box to me. That seems like a bunch of donors, and we see this all the time. Donors who fall in love with the player, they say, man, you know how cool that guy was? Remember how cool Ty Detmer was? That's going to be your next offensive coordinator. Or this guy was a cool quarterback for us. I liked watching him play. That's going to be our next head coach. So we're going to pay him, and we don't have money for your head coach anymore. In fact, the only money we have for the existing guy is his buyout. We see that all the time, and that feels exactly like what's happening here at Kansas State. And those rash decisions usually backfire.
I agree, and don't necessarily attract coaches the next time you're making a decision.
No, they don't.
So I don't get it. But it does, I think, directly relate to what's going on at Utah. And it does kind of compare to BYU and their great effort to keep a coach that they know can do a good job. You always fall in love with the next guy. Fall in love with the backup quarterback. I mean, it's the same. It's the same phenomenon. And when you're UVA and you keep Al Groh for 10 years for some reason when he can't win more than 4 games, that doesn't make any sense. But where you're Kansas State and you push out Chris Kleiman, he's winning 9 games a year except for 1 year. I find that ridiculous. Do you really need to overhaul that? Is that really required? Penn State, do you really need to overhaul James Franklin?
Right.
Is that really necessary? Because he lost to a terrible UCLA team once?
So along those lines, and even though I think it contradicts a little bit of what I said in the last hour about I don't think BYU needed to feel like Kalani was the only guy for the job. If you do feel like you have the right guy and they're in the prime of their career, which Kalani is right now, don't move on if you don't have to. And BYU didn't have to. BYU was able to get the money together, get the support together to show Kalani that he was welcome there and not just welcome. But as I think Brian Santiago was the one who said it yesterday, Kalani is really going to be the face of the athletic department for BYU and the entire university going forward. If you feel like he's the guy who's right to do it, and certainly I think emotionally he can do it, I think he has the personality to do it and not embarrass BYU, then pay him. Keep him around.
Well, it's more about what you know, I think. You know, with Jay, who we love, who knows?
Yeah, you don't know.
Who knows?
Same with Morgan.
Right.
So
I agree.
If I were Utah, I wouldn't be in a hurry. If Whit wants to come back, I would absolutely let Whit come back. And I understand Morgan might be mad about that.
I don't think it would be a mad thing. I think it'd be, I'm going to have to move. I'm going to have to step up eventually.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure he'd prefer it be at Utah, but if it's got to be somewhere else, then it's got to be somewhere else. But it's been going on 3 years now with this song and dance at the end of the season of retire or not retire, at least 2.
Mm-hmm. But you know what?
And he's been the interim coach the coach in waiting twice.
Yeah.
And this latest time, how long has he been the coach in waiting? 4 years now?
It's been a while.
So, I mean, that's
No, I wouldn't blame Morgan. I think Utah would be in good shape if they hire Morgan. Utah also should not feel the same way obligated to bring Morgan back if they feel like they have other guys that are available for the job.
What is the reason you would give somebody a coach in waiting? What is the point? Is it just feel goods for everybody, or what is the point?
If you really feel like you do have a special person who's ready to step up, it's why you don't trade Jordan Love even though you have Aaron Rodgers. If you really feel like you have the guy that's going to be perfect, that's the one reason I could see justifying it.
Why would you just let that guy go on and be a coordinator until the time comes?
Well, if you have a legend in front of him.
But why would you give him the label? You could put Morgan Scalley on ice as a DC, no problem.
I'm with you.
It's because he has other opportunities. It's because he comes to Utah and goes, hey, Weber State called or whoever. I'm talking years ago. And Utah goes, well, we really want you to stay.
Right.
And he says, dude, I want to go be a head coach
at Colorado or Colorado State.
Or Oregon State or whoever.
Boise State,
he said, they're calling me, I'd love to stay here, but... And they go, you know what? We'll guarantee you're going to be the next head coach. That's the only reason you do that.
We have seen that. You see that in business every day. Everyone knows somebody who's like, you got your title changed? Now you're associate vice president or what I mean? Whatever. It's like, why are you got a title change to appease you and a little bit of a pay bump. And the idea is, yes, it'll keep you around.
Yeah, and they can give Morgan Scalley raises all day long. I'm sure he's like, you've got to assure me that I've got some security here. If I'm going to pass on Arizona.
Sure.
And again, I'm just making up stuff out of the blue.
Right.
If I got to pass on Arizona, well, then you better, I guess, bird in the hand, ball in the carpet, man. You gotta let me know. And then that, satisfaction only lasts so long. There's an expiration date on that.
Yeah, of course.
Or else you're just treading water and you're going to become the next Bud Foster or Norm Chow who hung on for years because you thought you were going to be the next guy and then you weren't.
Agreed.
So the rubber meeting the road in that situation might not be anybody's fault, but it is going to happen.
For sure.
And so I'm curious, we haven't seen an announcement from Coach Whitt or something, and he doesn't strike me as retirement tour dude.
No, he said he wouldn't. He said he's just going to not come in one day. He'll be here one day, gone the next.
So how does that work itself out if he decides to come back? To keep Morgan, he would have to say, this is the last year, I promise.
Yeah, right.
And then it turns into retirement tour. So
Well, has anybody checked his office today? Is he there?
Do we know if business as usual, which was the report coming out of Monday?
I don't know. It definitely, I think, is more complicated than Coach Whitt just making up his mind. Even if he's the final decision maker, it's way more complicated than that.
Well, there are, because there are dominoes that will fall accordingly. One of the reports that came out about this, Kalani Sitake decision going to Penn State was, the rumor was that there might have been Utah coaches included. If Jay, and I think the theory would have been if Jay Hill were to have taken the BYU job, would Morgan have gone to Penn State and said, well, yeah, Whitt's never leaving. This job's not opening up for me this year. Would I follow Kalani? Or something along those lines. Maybe it was somebody else entirely. But regardless, that seems like the obvious position that would have been open, and you could have justified it for Morgan getting a pay raise and then saying, yeah, I'm a defensive coordinator at a Big Ten school, and if I win there, I'm definitely going to get another job. And right now, I'm waiting for a job that I have no idea when it's going to open. It's probably going to be in the next couple of years, but maybe not. The Whitt could keep coming back. Again, Whitt has this fire, and as we have talked about, you were talking about Frank Beamer and all these coaches who hang on for a long time. Joe Pa just hung on forever. You think Joe Pa didn't tease retirement 10 years before he actually retired?
Well, no, I don't think he did. The reason those guys, the rumors started happening is because they were so old. That's what makes this way more complicated because Whitt's only 64?
Yeah, mid-60s.
65? God, Frank Beamer was well into his 70s. I'd have to look at it. How old was Lavelle when he made the Whitt 66? That complicates it because he obviously has the energy and all that too.
He still has it. Again, he still has his fastball.
Right. Yeah. So that makes it way more complicated because
if he was in his 70s. But what I'm saying is there were probably questions about, not should they push him out, but hey, is this guy 65 years old now? Is Joe Pa going to hang it up because he's been at Penn State for 20 years already at this point, and he hung on till 30? That you don't know. I don't think Whitt's going to do that. Whitt has said he's not going to do that, but I don't know if he's not coming back next year. No one seems to know.
I know following the Frank Beamer situation, nobody talked about retirement until he was going 500.
Sure.
And then everybody's like, oh, well, this guy. And Whitt's not at that point last year aside.
And you know what? Whitt the Utah job, the same way I feel at the BYU job, should not feel like there's only one man for the job, is the truth. Now, I have said Utah should let Whitt stay around as long as he wants. I truly believe that. I still believe that. If he wants to be there at Utah, he has what it takes to win, and it's really hard to win. Winning is the most important thing you can do right now, and Whitt can do it. Won 10 games this season. So if he wants to stay around, let him stay around. But the coach in waiting thing is weird. And I'm not fighting against Morgan Scalley being the next guy. I would love to see Morgan get that opportunity. I think Morgan's a really good coach. He's proven it on the defensive side of the ball. I think he probably has the right temperament to be the head coach at Utah. But, like, if Morgan were to leave and Utah were to tap Jay Hill, would Jay Hill not do a good job also? Like, or they went and got Urban. And Urban did a great job. Like, you can find good coaches to come and be at your school at Utah. It's a good job.
This take long predates Morgan Scalley, so don't get me wrong. I've always found the coach in waiting thing totally stupid because it means nothing. Mm-hmm. It'd be like me telling you that you are the next Mr. Universe. It means nothing. It
doesn't mean anything.
It means nothing. But you can walk around town and say, hey, I was told I'm going to be the next Mr. Universe. Yep. It doesn't mean anything. There's no obligation to anything, especially in college football. Like, even if he got it in contract, how much are contracts worth in college football?
Yeah, if you have to pay him $1 million to not get the job, right? Which is the rumor, right? He gets $1 million if he doesn't get hired. It's like, yeah, you just factor that into Whitt's buyout. You factor that into Whitt's going away money.
Yeah, it means
the donor doesn't care.
Yeah, it means nothing. So if I'm Morgan, I'm considering all of my options, 1,000%. And if Utah's his number one job that he wants, he needs to have his finger on the pulse of what Kyle's going to do, because you can only stay on ice for so long before you go like, okay, well, what happens if Coach Whitt does pull a Frank Beamer and go out with a few 500 seasons and everybody sours on the coaching staff? That's how Bud Foster didn't get the job. Mm-hmm. The AD soured on the whole staff because Frank lost his fastball.
Yep.
That's how Norm Chow didn't get the job. Mm-hmm. Because he was around long enough thinking, this is my gig. Uh-huh. And then Lavelle has a couple of average seasons, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't want any of these bozos.
Yeah, right.
We want the Chicago Bears offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Which is crazy. All right, we've got What You Got Wednesday coming up next. Do we know what we're doing?
With one of them, seems like.
All right.
Half.
Stay tuned. More straight ahead. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What you got Wednesday? What's the deal? Jake's got rules, Ben's out to steal. Bozo takes their spinning around. Flush it down, flush it down.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Hanson Scotty from noon to 3 at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown. Coming up today, 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. Tim Daly, home of the Forever Warranty. It's time for What You Got Wednesday. If you're new to the show, Ben and I go head-to-head every Wednesday. 2 5-selection drafts, one sports-related, one not. And then we put it out to the listeners for a vote. What happened last week, Christian?
Last week, teams that will never get off the mat. Ben won 60-40. Most famous moms. I think we changed that to notorious. Jake won 79-21.
Yeah, all right.
Took Jesus' mom.
So I get the first selection in the sports draft, and you get the non-sports. All right. What is today's sports-related topic?
Let's go with most desirable jobs in college football.
Most desirable jobs.
It's hard. I think there's a lot of ways to look at this.
There is, and it was inspired because Kalani didn't take the Penn State job, which is the job where you can more easily win, because there are other things at factor for him on why BYU was the better job.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily where you can win, but that obviously matters. So I'm curious to see your calculus. I think there is an automatic number one pick.
Because there's a difference between, again, best job and most desirable job. I think we're defining two different things. I think that's going to confuse some people, but I think you'll get it by the end.
Okay. I think there is an automatic number one pick.
I think there is too.
And I think it's Ohio State.
Oh, okay. Not what I was going with.
You can win at the highest levels, obviously. You're in a big-time league. Mm-hmm. The head coach is going to get paid $1 zillion. but you can actually stay there forever. The last 2 coaches before shoe polish day, why did they leave? Did they get fired?
No.
Controversy.
Yeah.
Urban had a bunch of stuff going on.
Yep.
And Jim Tressel had players trading memorabilia for tattoos. You can coach there. Tressel was there forever. Urban Meyer was there for a decade. Old Shoe Polish is one big there. And I don't think Shoe Polish is that great a coach, honestly. One big there, stayed there forever. I think a moron could win there. Seems like their resources are in line. Great fan base. Ohio State.
For the same reasons, but I think even better, I'm going to take Georgia. Because the difference for Georgia is you have the single best recruiting ground coming out of high school of anywhere in the country.
That's a factor.
You have a great job. There's been pretty good job safety there. Now, Kirby's just a great coach, so that's why he's had that job and has job security. But if you can't get a top 5 recruiting class at Georgia, you're an idiot.
The reason I didn't pick Georgia is because they were good, not great pre-Kirby.
I think that's fair.
At Ohio State, they've had a bunch of people win. But different criteria, of course. That's the name of the game
here. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Oregon, specifically because of Uncle Phil and Nike in general. If you have
Has to be on the list.
If you have Nike on your side, then life is good. Now, it makes expectations a little out of whack.
There is higher pressure. Mark Helfrich did not last.
No, he did not, but he wasn't a particularly good coach, but I get your point. So Chipper won there. I think Lanning's pretty good, but I mean, it's the ultimate ace card, especially in the NIL world now. I mean, Nike can get you whatever you want.
I guess along those lines, because I don't disagree with you, I'm going to go with Texas Tech, which is funny somewhat doing the same thing, which clearly this big donor, remind me his name, if we remember it.
Cody Campbell.
Cody Campbell is trying to be old Waffle Shoes Nike himself, to buy the best, have the best, willing to invest to have the best, without necessarily having the pressure of the Big Ten behind you having to play those opponents. Now, the hard part is if you don't win the league, you don't make it to the college football playoff, and that makes it slightly less desirable. But Joey McGuire, he's a pretty good coach. But all of a sudden, that's one of the best jobs because the resources are there in a league where it's fertile for the picking.
He just got a new contract.
And he just got a new contract. You can win there.
All right. I'm going to take Alabama.
Okay.
I don't think Alabama's resources are
I think you're
quite
going to confuse people. People are thinking we're just picking the best jobs here.
I know. We'll get there.
Which is fine.
Multiple coaches have won at Alabama. Multiple coaches have been able to win there and stay for a long time. And they're in the league you want to be in. The pressure is the downside. Like Kalen DeBoer lost 2 games early and already had people barking at him.
Yeah, for sure. You got to win.
But is it any coincidence that like Bear, Gene Stallings, and Nick Saban all won there? Alabama.
I'm going to go with the school that truly has the strangest existence, and we just take it for granted because it has this name. It's got to be Notre Dame. Notre Dame, just whatever you do, and I get they've won 10 straight. Like Notre Dame has had a very good season.
Yeah.
But a lot of people win at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly won at Notre Dame. Who's their coach right now? I can't think of his name.
Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman's winning right now at Notre Dame. You get players who want to go there. You don't have to compete for a conference championship. As long as you win 10 games, you're either going to the college football championship game in the past or you're going to the playoff now. It's a really good job.
And because you're not in a league, resources will never be a problem
Doesn't
because
matter.
they pocket 100% of the shares from if you make college football playoff. All that whole share is going to
And
Notre Dame, not the rest of the league. So
they got the NBC thing still,
no,
right?
I'm with you.
Notre Dame's a great job.
It's absolutely a great job. All right. I'm going to go outside the box on this one.
Okay.
Okay. Northwestern.
Okay. Interesting.
You win 5 games a year. You can be there for 20 years.
You score 14 points. It's like, what is this offensive explosion?
What's the guy who was there before that actually didn't they beat Utah in a bowl game? Pat Fitzgerald, who just got a new job, right?
The Michigan State coach.
Decidedly average program.
Is that the Vegas Bowl?
That sounds right.
And then Utah hired the OC.
Yeah.
to be a consultant.
Decidedly, like if you go look at his record, decidedly average. He was there for 100 years, having a good team. And when I say good team, I mean like above 6 wins team. What, once every 5 years? He could have stayed there forever. He didn't get fired either.
Did he leave?
He got caught up in scandal because his
right.
his strength coach was doing something. And I know it was something awful, so I'm not I'm not making light of it. I should go back and look.
But you're right. It has all the benefits of being a Big Ten school without any of the expectations.
At all.
Yeah.
Northwestern.
Yeah. And then you've got a bunch of smart kids, a bunch of communications majors, and, that are just like, oh.
You're in Chicago?
Yeah.
Good
right.
times.
Cool job. I'm with you. Along those lines, but completely different, maybe similar on what's longitude versus latitude? I don't remember which one's which. Give me Boise State. I think Boise State's a really good job.
They've had some idiots there, too, that have won.
They have. And you are kind of the best of that conference, and you're expected to be the best of that conference. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win this weekend. They probably lose to UNLV, but they have name brand value built into their program regardless. You go in, you're expected to win there. You're going to win there. Recruits will go there because it's the best of the rest, notoriously. So I think Boise State's a pretty good job.
Man, okay, I'm really conflicted, and I could tell you why after we're done here. But you know what? I'm going to take Florida. And I realize
had a lot of coaches.
I realized that the LSU job was more of a priority than Florida. So maybe I'll lose this one. But I feel like you have to include a Florida school for the same reason that you picked Georgia. And just because Florida has hired a cavalcade of shark-humping bozos does not mean that it's not an awesome job. And remember when Notre Dame was picking between, or when Urban Meyer was picking between Notre Dame and Florida, he picked
Florida.
You should be able to win huge at Florida.
You should.
You're
Why
in
is
the
nobody
SEC.
doing it?
Because they're hiring idiots. Do you remember? Jim McElwain was an idiot. He had one good year at Colorado State. One at Colorado State. Terrible. And what Mullen was okay.
I like Dan Mullen, but yeah.
Wait,
He was okay.
you said they're doing what
Huh?
to Sharks?
That was Jim McElwain. Look it up.
Why
But
Florida
I'm not-
over Miami?
Because of the league.
Okay.
And Florida State because of the league.
Miami still gets to coast on reputation alone, and I don't know if Mario Cristobal can coach, but they're like, yeah, we'll put you in the playoff. We kind of like you. It's a cool team.
You make your pick and then we can talk about this.
Washington has a little bit of the Northwestern thing going on, but has a better recruiting pool and kind of has the West Coast not to themselves, but a thinner recruiting battle being in the West than if they were in Big Ten country.
If you're a bad coach, though, you can be really bad at Washington. Who was the bozo that replaced Chris Peterson?
Yeah.
He was terrible. Remember when the old Notre Dame coach went there? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
and had a winless season or one-win season or whatever.
No, it can fall apart. Hey, BYU, did BYU lose to Washington? Is that the
No, they barely
beat them on the field goal?
They barely beat them on it was like a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the lows can be really low, but I think you can rebound and win actually at a pretty high level pretty quickly.
So the reason I was thinking about taking Miami is because you can be decidedly average there and you have all the resources in the world and everybody still thinks you're good. Mm-hmm. So maybe I should have picked Miami.
I think I would take Miami over
Florida.
Over Florida myself.
Urban taking Florida over Notre Dame was my kind of deciding factor. Because if Notre Dame's such a great job, Urban thought Florida was a better job. All right, let's review.
Quick review, Jake. You had the number one pick. You went Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Northwestern, and Florida. Ben went Georgia, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, Boise State, and Washington.
The only reason I wouldn't say Boise is the paycheck.
Yeah, great.
Up next, most overrated actors. Quentin Tarantino had some shots to take yesterday. You can go look it up in case you missed it.
Doesn't
but that's
like
our
the actor
topic.
Paul Dano.
He said There Will Be Blood would have been the best movie of the 21st century.
He's done his top 25 or top 20 list of the last 25 years.
Had it not been for Paul Dano and his poor acting. So we're going with overrated actors. You have the first pick in this one. Is there an automatic number one pick?
No, I don't know which direction to go here.
There is kind of for me.
Is there?
Yeah.
I will go with a guy who's absolutely lost it maybe more than overrated, because I think when he had it, he was great. I'm going to go with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp is still like a guy who I think some people are like, Johnny Depp's going to be in a new movie. I'm going to see it. And it's like, Johnny Depp hasn't made a good movie in 20 years and really wasn't in his prime since the early 90s.
Yeah, I mean, Pirates was great.
Yeah,
not
so that's
all of
early
them, but
the
that
2000s.
But that character was great, and you can look at his raw. I think maybe I wouldn't have picked Johnny because I think he can still act, but
I don't know if he can.
his personal life has turned into a circus.
He is a circus
which
of a person.
has kind of ruined it.
Yep.
I'm going with Keanu Reeves, hands down. I watched The Matrix 1 once, and I hated his performance in it so much because it's the same as Speed. He even did a Shakespeare. Look it up. I can't remember if it was Hamlet or Othello or something like that. A Kenneth Branagh Shakespeare. And it was just like he was playing Ted.
I love Keanu Reeves. I actually think there's probably areas where he's a little underrated as an actor because he kind of gets the Bill and Ted. Like,
He's Ted.
And like Christian and I both love this movie, Dracula. He's so bad and miscast in Dracula, the Gary Oldman one from the early 90s, is crazy. But I think at his best, he has something. So I'm a Keanu Reeves fan, but I don't think it's a bad pick. Certainly. I'm not going to argue with you that it's a bad pick. All right. I'm going to go with another guy who's a huge star. I've never really bought him as an actor, especially since early again, and that's Will Smith. I have not, like, even...
That's a good one.
Even Pursuit of Happiness, I get it. He cries on scene. People are like, well, that makes you a great actor. It's like, I don't know. He's kind of just Will Smith all the time, and I don't really like the Will Smith thing. And not just because he's smacking Chris Rock.
He's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you I've been off him since... well, I didn't like Independence Day.
And I liked Independence Day.
But, I mean, the Wild Wild West thing was like,
yeah.
Okay, you're just stealing from
terrible.
people.
Yeah, truly terrible.
All right. I hope this makes sense. And it isn't necessarily the movies, but he plays himself in every movie.
Okay.
Arnold. He's not a good actor. He's just,
of course, not a good actor.
No,
yeah.
He's just muscle man who plays big Austrian guy in everything he's ever done.
I have really come around on Arnold in my life, and I have a much better appreciation for this late act Arnold and whatever he's doing now. I like him a lot more, and it's made me like kind of the younger thing of like, this is a person trying to figure himself out, but he's certainly not a good actor.
No.
No argument that he's a good actor.
No.
But I do find myself enjoying Arnold in general and his...
that's what I'm saying. His movie, Kindergarten Cop is entertaining, but he plays...
What's his Christmas movie, Jingle All the Way?
Yeah, he plays the same thing. It's the same thing.
Stupid.
Predator 1, so sick.
Or
Predator 1's great. No, like Terminator 2 is one of the best movies of all time.
But he's the same guy in every one.
He plays a robot because he's not a good actor.
Or what's the one he's with Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Arnold?
True Lies.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, exact same guy.
Yeah.
Last Action Hero, though, kind of fun. He's like kind of making fun of himself. So he has something there. All right, I'm going to go with Mr. Charisma. I don't buy it. I'm going with Ryan Reynolds, even though I like some Ryan Reynolds movies as well. I like Just Friends. I even like some of his bad ones. People hate Free Guy or whatever the latest one. Like he is charming. He has his thing. I just think he's overrated as an actor. Deadpool is great. It's a very funny movie.
Not.
The first one is very funny.
I agree with you, Ryan Reynolds. Nope.
He's just his thing. I think there are far more compelling actors.
Yep. There certainly are. All right, Ben, where to go next? You know what? Even though she's in one of my favorite movies,
okay,
got to go with J-Lo.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez.
She never really... She had like the early roles, right? She was Selena, which is very good. She was really good in that. And it's obviously, it's a role she was designed to play. You know, that's the role she was born for. She had a couple of good ones here and there, but yeah, I'm not sure she ever fully broke through as like, here's the great role. Unless you like the new Magic Mike or The Cell.
She's in the new Magic Mike?
She's in one of them, right?
I didn't see the old Magic Mike.
Christian, you have the box set.
You're asking the wrong.
If you don't have it,
man.
I bet I know what you're getting for Christmas. Magic Mike box set.
You do that to Christian?
I'm inviting him over to watch them.
My wife would appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. Happy wife. All right, I'm up. I don't think anyone... Here's the disappointing thing. I'll go with the guy who I actually think has chops and doesn't utilize them enough. Because at his best, he's good. and he does a bad job with it, and it's not probably who you're thinking. I'm going with Mark Wahlberg, who I actually think Mark Wahlberg, if you've seen Boogie Nights, if you've seen, like, what's the one he does with Will Ferrell? Like, he's pretty funny.
The other guys?
The Other Guys. He's got some good drama stuff. I just think he really mails it in as, like, I work out harder than anybody on the planet, and I think it's kind of boring. Mark Wahlberg.
I can't believe I'm getting this star this late.
Okay.
Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, Jen.
Can't act her way out of a paper bag.
No, she cannot.
There's a reason she could never duplicate the success of Friends, and that's
No,
because,
she did the Jason Bateman romantic comedy.
What, the Horrible Bosses one?
Well, she wasn't Horrible Boss. Actually, that was kind of a funny role. No, she did another one where they're on dating, or she's dating Vince Vaughn. Was that one she did? I don't know.
Remember
But yeah,
the rom-com she made with Jay Moore? That
Yeah,
was
she's-
just awful.
She's not. Again, she's very good as Rachel. But that's it. That's the only thing she can do. And if you can only do one role, you're really probably not a great actor. You're just being yourself in this situation. Along those lines, and this is going to be by far my most controversial pick, but this guy really can't be a lead anymore, and he's tried. As best, again, great. Dated Jennifer Aniston. Might have been married. I'm going with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt does not have his fastball anymore.
Oh, I loved the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he was really good in that.
I think he's actually the weakest part of that movie.
Leo
get
was
the
good
character.
too. Yeah.
Leo's great. I like, obviously, the ranch and all the Charles Manson stuff aspect of it and whatever the crazy. I think there's some really good stuff there. And they're making his role, whatever his name was, Rick Scott or whatever his name was in the movie.
Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth. He's Cliff Booth. He's the body double for Leo, who's the actual star. They're making an entire movie just about Cliff Booth now, and I wonder if Brad's not going to be able to do it. I saw F1. He was fine, but it's not that compelling. I don't think Brad Pitt has it anymore, and we still kind of treat him like he does. That's my fear. It's controversial. I have no doubt about it.
All right. I'm trying to think. Because I don't want to say what like. If you pick somebody who everybody thinks is a good actor, but I think is overrated, then that's not going to get me any sort of votes. Let me think here, Ben. You know what? I'm going to go for it anyway because he's just played Maverick every single movie that he's in. And when he's strayed from Maverick, it's really weird and off-putting. I'm going with Tom Cruise. And even though I like that movie that has the raining frogs, his role in it is off-putting.
Oh, I love that. I think that's his best role.
And
It's his most acting.
What's his cameo in the Ben Stiller comedy? I find that off-putting.
Tropic Thunder.
And then he's just played Maverick from Top Gun, and he's made 13 different Mission Impossible movies. How much range could you have if you were still playing the same character over and over again? I'm going Tom Cruise.
I love his role in Magnolia. He has flopped in some huge roles where he's trying to be something different. Interview with a Vampire.
Was weird.
Yeah, he's. I didn't see Last Samurai, but apparently it's awful, and he doesn't know how to do it.
It's not great. Yeah, and he plays Maverick in Last Samurai. It's the same character.
Yeah, and that's he's a great movie star. He's not a great actor.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, review.
Ben had the number one pick. He went Johnny Depp, Will Smith, Ryan Reynolds, Mark Wahlberg, and Brad Pitt. Jake went Keanu Reeves, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Aniston, and Tom Cruise. I would argue Dwayne Johnson should have been on this list.
You know who I should have picked, and I regret it immediately? Kevin Costner.
Oh, Kevin maybe lost his fastball, but he's been good in lots of stuff.
He has had some good things. I love Field of Dreams. I think he's done well. But like Robin Hood, he's just atrocious in.
I love that movie.
He's awful in it. Again, it has really good pieces.
I just love that movie from when I saw it when I was like what age I was, and I really liked it when I was a kid.
They made that movie for us.
The reason I would pick The Rock, if you've ever seen the movie Be Cool, I think The Rock's a good actor.
I haven't seen
movie.
Have you seen Smashing Machine yet?
No.
I want to see it. See if he does a
one
good
movie.
job
I
this
get your point, but it does show a little range.
Yeah.
All right. Stay tuned. We wrap it up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's that?
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airwaves, talking sports.
They got him make Jake's and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This segment is brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255. Also, remind you to nominate the sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Real quick, Ben, because we don't have time to explore this, so maybe we get into it tomorrow. But Chris Paul got cut at 3 a.m.?
He did. He got Raja Belled. He got sent home. Apparently he was not getting along with Tyronn Lue. And you know what? As bad as that roster is not as bad as their 5-16 record or whatever it is, I would believe that Chris Paul was so toxic that they were losing more games than they needed to. Not all of them because of Chris Paul, but that he was actively making it worse.
Man.
And veterans do that. Veterans poison locker rooms.
It's got to be bad. I don't even think the Jazz cut Mark Jackson at 3 a.m.
But Mark Jackson came in and poisoned a Jazz locker room that had other Hall of Famers on it.
And did they retain him till the end of the year? Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. Well, sending a guy home on his retirement tour from a team he was a legend for
at 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m. is very bizarre. I'll be curious if he goes to Houston or New Orleans or if his career's just over.
All right, stay tuned. Hans and Scotty G are next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.